Welcome back, Tribe. I have one here from Lauren Chen, Passport Bros, Pathetic or Modern Romeo? One Eurasian woman's thoughts. Interesting to see what she thinks about this. She's more on the base side, conservative.
Why do you think so many men are traveling overseas to find wives in other countries?
Men are traveling overseas to find wives in other countries? Why? I'm right here. I'm single.
No,
Why? I want to be married.
If
Men are traveling overseas to countries that have less money and less education, it's because they want a woman who is dependent on them for their livelihood, for their resources, to have a good life. And I don't think that that is a good thing.
So this Passport Bros video going around where American women are getting kind of upset that...
When are we going to escape this mentality? She said that these bros are not marrying foreign women because they speak a little English or because they have a lack of education, but because they're more nourishing and more caring. You're describing a maid, a free lift and one for the rest of your life at that.
Have you noticed that the ones who are chanting Passport Bros are the same ones that are also chanting about how they don't want to pay for dates? So they basically want you to believe that they can't afford dinner, but they can afford a passport and a flight out of the country.
Let's talk about Passport Bros. Now, in my last video, which was about Gen Z men becoming more conservative, while simultaneously Gen Z women are becoming more liberal, I briefly touched upon Passport Bros. But since that video came out, there have been a lot of people on social media basically telling me I'm enabling human trafficking or prostitution because I'm okay with Passport Bros, or even literally saying that a man merely wanting a more traditional wife, that in and of itself is exploitation and sexist. There have been so many bad takes on Passport Bros that I felt like I needed to dedicate an entire video to Passport Bros. And for people who might be new to this conversation, you may very well be wondering what exactly is a Passport Bro. So fair enough, let's start there. Well, according to Urban Dictionary, because this term is not in Webster's dictionary, but on Urban Dictionary, Passport Bros are defined as men who have chosen to seek out foreign women, typically from other countries, as opposed to local foreign women, for relationships. They believe that Western women have been influenced by cultural and societal pressures to behave in a certain way, and that by seeking out foreign women, they can find a more authentic, fulfilling, and harmonious relationship. This is seen as a way to restore the natural balance between masculine and feminine energy, and to avoid the, quote, wickedness of Western women.
Even that definition sucks because it's men who have chosen to seek out foreign women. I'm sure a percentage of them do, but most of the guys that take the Passport Bro thing seriously actually turn into expats. They go there for financial reasons because cost of living. They could actually afford a whole family anyways in these countries, but they escape the rat race of living in a highly developed country where you're going to be expected to work until you're dead. Nobody wants to work until their pension and then to live 5 years and die afterward. Vast majority of men that are doing this seriously, not the bozos that are just looking for a 2-week trip, but the guys that are actually looking to uproot their lives are doing it for financial reasons. But of course, in every little movement, community, ideology, there's bozos. Hey everyone, if you have a minute, please head over to legionofmen.store and grab yourself some cool merch as well. We have a bunch of limited edition designs, brand new stuff on the way, and all the proceeds go to supporting the channel. We don't want to be sponsored by corporations where we have to submit videos for review, have our speech impeded, or push any products that we don't use. So thank you so much to everybody that goes into the shop. Again, it's legionofmen.store. I'll put it up here for you guys. First time customers get a 10% off, and we have a bunch of great designs by artists from the community that watch the channel and support. They get proceeds as well, a percentage of everything that gets sold. So community funded through and through. And it's no synthetic fibers on any on our products. We're using cotton only, of course. I got your back from all those chemicals from synthetic fibers. Again, appreciate you guys. Let's continue.
And similarly, another post also defines Passport Bros as a new phenomenon of Western men who are deciding to go to Asia and elsewhere to find traditional/feminine women to wife up because they are either annoyed at the insanely high standards that modern Western women hold, or they don't share the extreme woke values, or because Western women can be hypocrites who want to provide her man, but they won't clean or cook. Passport Bros, it says, are a variation of the MGTOW movement, but the Passport variant are men who still want to wife up good women instead of rejecting marriage altogether. Passport Bros conversely...
Yeah, Urban Dictionary is just so shit for these definitions. Passport broing has been going on for decades, far before the word Passport Bro ever came into existence of describing this subset of men. The original quote passport bros were military dudes, military bros that were stationed overseas and happened to then just stay in those countries and then found women in those countries and started up families there. That was like the quote original version of this. This is just a new wokish definition on things men have been doing for a long time, but it's only now in the limelight because the regular dudes are starting to do it now instead of being a military man that's stationed overseas on base somewhere.
Believe that certain women are worthy of marriage and that both husband and wife should contribute to the marriage in some way. So essentially based on that definition, passport bros are men who want to get married, have kids, and have a more, I guess, traditional lifestyle, but they are under the impression, or they believe, we're not saying whether it's true or not, but just they believe that increasingly Western women don't want that for themselves because of either feminism or just having a career or personal preference. And so in order to seek out a relationship that is amenable to them, they are instead choosing to go to other countries where the culture is different, where women, or at least more women, might still be interested in something like staying home to raise the kids. And as someone who firmly believes that because who you marry is the most important decision of your entire life, you should be very intentional with seeking a relationship, I don't have a problem with this concept of passport bros. I don't think anyone should find it strange that someone would move for a greater likelihood of finding a spouse if in this day and age, it's totally common to move for a greater likelihood of finding a job. I mean, a spouse is way more important for a job. So if you feel like where you live or in your current situation, you're not in the best position for whatever reason to find a spouse, but that might change if you move, then in my opinion, you go do that. You move, find your happily ever after, find whoever you can build a life with. However, that is my take on what is described here as passport bros. However, as is becoming increasingly clear to me, there are a lot of people out there who are not so charitable about the intenser actions of, so-called passport bros. Because you see, Urban Dictionary also defines passport bros as men whose only means of attracting women is through financial exploitation. This is the only tool in their kit, so they fly to overexploited nations where women have less financial standing and show off $20 here or there to get women's attention. And ironically, they don't like gold diggers in places like the US, but they're fine giving their money away to women who'll do anything for their coins because they need to buy food to feed their families. It's basically international prostitution with less oversight. So,
you know what's beautiful about that definition? If you could just picture in your mind, if we all collectively visualize what this person looks like that wrote this, it's going to be stunning that we all can visualize about the same thing within like 98% similarity. All of us right now can visualize what this person looks like based on what they wrote right here. Isn't that funny? There's a look, baby. I'm telling you.
With less oversight. So yeah, this is the type of mentality toward passport bros. This is the type of criticism passport bros are getting, especially but not exclusively from Western feminist women, that inspired me to make this video. Because despite the impression that a lot of people are under that this is a new phenomenon, even one of those Urban Dictionary definitions called it a new phenomenon, Western men finding wives abroad is actually not new in the slightest. You see, I come from a kind of unique background. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm half Chinese and I'm half white, and I actually grew up abroad, mostly in Asia. I've lived in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Shanghai, and in addition to that, I also got to travel throughout Asia a lot, which I'm really lucky for, going to places like Thailand, Indonesia. And while I was a kid overseas, I went to American international schools, and as people who are familiar with, I guess, expat culture will know, there are many families in those types of communities, expat communities, that are comprised of Western men and Asian women.
Yes, very interesting. So we don't know the business side of this because most guys are only aware of this through TikTok and guys just getting a passport and going overseas for a few weeks. But there's a huge community in the global economy that we're in of businessmen that work in other countries. It's actually very common, especially these huge global cities, Singapore, Hong Kong that she's mentioning. All these places have foreign skilled workers that come in there with their specialized skills for these big conglomerates, either working on contract or permanently, and they settle in these places. And of course, they start to assimilate within the culture. And typically, it's been Western men, specialized skills coming into these countries and building up whatever projects that they're working on. Then they tend to marry and settle down there. Nothing new.
And obviously, passport bros doesn't mean you have to go to Asia. There are also passport bros who go to places in Eastern Europe or South America. But from my own personal experience, I am very familiar with Western men going to Asia specifically. And in fact, a lot of my friends growing up were the product of these Western man / Asian woman relationships. I don't qualify myself here because, I mean, my dad is the Chinese one, not my mom, so that gender dynamic is different. And also, even though my dad is Chinese, he's Asian, my parents met in Montreal, not in Hong Kong, where my dad is from. They only moved to Hong Kong together later. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a product of something like this, but a lot of my peers growing up were, and you know what? Their families were happy. Divorce was basically an unknown thing to me before I moved to Canada and later the United States. These families were well provided for. These mothers largely, but not exclusively, stayed home and took care of the kids, my friends. And what's even more than that, it's interesting to me that my mother, who by the way was the one who had the expat job abroad, not my father, she would talk to these Western men and very commonly would hear from them how they enjoyed having an Asian wife because Western women were often too focused on their careers. But since they had money themselves, really what they were looking for was a partner who could complement them, i.e. do something they couldn't in, staying home with the kids and helping build a happy, healthy home life. That whole relationship.
It's unfortunate that Western women can't understand that simple point right there, that when a man becomes successful, when he gains some experience in life, when he has some money and he wants to settle down, he's not looking for your job, your salary, your achievement. He wants something that he doesn't have, which is the femininity of the woman, children, somebody at home to help raise the kids. He doesn't want to put them in daycare with strangers. He doesn't want them to be indoctrinated in the woke schools we have today. He just wants a loving woman that could be at home cooking, cleaning, looking after the kids while he goes out there and provides and does all the things a man should be doing. The issue that we're running in today, aside from the economic realities of needing a dual income household, which that's a whole nother conversation. We're talking for the men that are strictly successful and can support a woman to stay at home. Those are the guys that all these women are angling for anyways. And those are all the guys that will constantly tell these women, you don't really bring anything to the table I would want for in a wife. This could only be short term. We're only having fun. You're not what I'm really looking for long term. This is where the bitterness comes through because some of these women are working in very close proximity to these men in probably lower positions, perhaps. Think about secretary or personal assistant or something like that, other positions within the company that they're nearby these men of power, and they are angling for them. And they do get mad and angry when they see these highly successful men with what they deem as a stupid young chick that's only there for your money. But they don't understand that that stupid young chick is providing that guy with exactly what he wants. Nurturing personality, super feminine, loves kids, wants babies of her own, wants to look after the family, wants to homemake, wants to do all the things that he's looking for that he himself doesn't do. He's already out there taking on the world. He's already making all the money. He's dealing with all that stress externally. He doesn't want a partner that's dealing with the same thing. And we're both coming home to an empty hole of a problem because neither of us cook. Neither of us are cleaning. We're both working 60 plus hours a week. Great story, dude. We're just making double the money and our home is a mess. We rarely see our kids. We're still eating microwave dinners or eating out at work, working late hours. That's not living life. Why would a man who sacrificed everything to get to that position in life want to come home to an empty house with no meals made, nothing fresh in the air, smells incredible, clean sheets, little kids running around, laughing, playing? Come on, man. This is common sense. How far into the indoctrination have some of these Western women gone down where they really think that instead of being a homemaker and building a legacy with your husband is somehow less appealing than being a corporate slave, IRS wage cuck? It's wild. So you go to work to get yelled at by a man who really doesn't give a shit about you, pays you pennies on the dollar, doesn't value your worth whatsoever, and that is okay. But being at home, cooking, cleaning, watching after your kids, that's internalized misogyny. That's basically slavery. Isn't it crazy?
Relationship dynamic of foreign man, local woman. When I was growing up in Asia, it was just very common for me to see, and I didn't really think anything of it. And so when I went on Twitter and saw all the backlash that passport bros were getting, I was honestly kind of surprised by it, especially surprised at how these Western men, who again were my mom's coworkers, colleagues, her friends. These men, apparently, I was learning, were basically just human traffickers who were so pathetic they couldn't even get a wife in their own country. And meanwhile, these Asian moms who I would see, being very dedicated to their families, very well-spoken and yes, intelligent, apparently they were just being exploited, basically human trafficked, taken advantage of because they were poor and uneducated. I mean, really, if you want to see the rage directed to passport bros, all you need to do is check out a site like TikTok. Before we do that together, I do want to say thank you to today's sponsor, Patriot Gold. Did you know that Jerome Powell and the Fed raised rates for the 11 years now in a row? Now let's look at least one woman who is not a fan of these passport bros.
I didn't know what a passport bro was until one of my recent videos did well. Now I have the misfortune of knowing what the that is. And my only question is, who's going to tell them? Who is going to tell these men that American women are some of the last demographics of women to catch up with what we're talking about right now? You think Russian women are going to put up with your shit? You think Asian women are going to go 50-50 with you on the bill? You think French women are going to sleep with you just because you showed up? Oh, who's going to...
Actually, French women are known to be very loose, and you're naming a lot of Western countries. The only way people speak about, and this whole 50-50, why do they always bring up 50-50? I don't understand what's going on in the circle. I'm not, up to date on everything, but the only guys that are probably asking for 50-50 are the guys that are going on dates with chicks that are full of tattoos, super loose, got insanely vulgar pictures on Instagram, basically advertising herself as a low value woman. So yeah, on top of that, probably saying she's strong and independent in her profile. So the guy's going like, cool, let's do 50-50. No guy that I've ever met wants to 50-50 with a feminine woman that's like in a flower dress, who has expectations of being treated like a lady, behaves like a lady. I don't know of any man that takes a traditionally feminine woman out and would have the balls to even ask them for 50-50. That just sounds weird to me. Now, if you're with one of these like bullnose ring man eaters with neck tattoos everywhere and all this stuff, then yeah, it's 50-50, sis, or you buy dinner this time, I'll get it next time kind of deal. You're strong, you're independent. That's the energy you're putting out, right? That I would understand, because you're feeding them their own narrative. It makes sense.
Tell them.
So straight up right here, I'm sorry, but this woman does not understand the mentality of a passport bro, or what a passport bro even is. Of all of the men that I've seen say that they would be interested in dating a foreign woman, even if it meant going abroad to find one, they're not looking for just hookups or a one-night stand. They actually want a committed relationship. They want to get married and they want to have kids. And obviously there are men in Western culture who are participating in hookup and all they want to do is just sleep with women. They're not interested in commitment or monogamy or anything like that. But that is not all Western men. And I don't think that's the mentality of passport bros. Not that there are no men who want to go abroad to just sleep with women, but that's not passport bro phenomenon that we are talking about. Because yes, traditionally minded Western men do exist. Men who want to get married and have a family do exist. Perhaps they're just...
Yeah, by the way, if you're going to be a man that goes overseas just to sleep with women, no, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're going to be dealing with mostly low value women. If the women you're going for overseas are really spreading their legs for you that easily, that's not even someone you would want in a long-term relationship. So if all you're doing is going to hook up, you might as well do it in the shithole you live in here in the West, because it's just as easy. It really is. Honestly, there are people with self-esteem issues in the West all over. Hookup culture in the West is number one. If all you're looking to do is hook up, why would you leave the hookup mecca of the world? It makes no sense. And this is another point that they don't understand on the other side when they're talking shit about passport bros. If they wanted to just hook up and take advantage, you literally could do it in the best land ever, the West, where hookup culture is rampant, where people have body counts in the hundreds, where it's glorified and pushed on everybody. That's where you would go to do this.
Not interested in you.
The reason why you can't find a traditional woman in America anymore is because there's no such thing as a traditional home or family structure, because of the way our economy is f***ing us all over right now. And I think it's ironic that American women, in response to this, are going, oh, I can make my own money and I don't have to have kids and go through the painful process of labor and raising children alone, and I don't have to pretend to like someone's grubby little...
Sad. This is what happens when she gets indoctrinated. You have a beautiful young woman with a ton of potential, and she got half of the equation right when she said that the economy is in shambles. That's killing the ability to have a whole nuclear traditional family. But then she goes off into the whole labor is painful, being a slave, strong, independent. She got caught up on the hype, dude, and all this potential unfortunately, is going to end up in a culmination of cats, boxed wine, and doubling down at 40, 50 years old about how men ain't shit and this and that. And dude, it's a story as old as time. How many more of these recycled TikToks are we going to see in the next 5, 10, 15 years with the same message as women are nearing, the new batch going into the 40s, into their 50s, that are going to be warning the younger ones about what's going on? And I think we're going to end up in this little feedback loop where it's already happening, where the youngest generation is turning a bit more conservative overall. They're less sexually active than the generation before them and guarding their time a little more because it's just toxic out there for everybody.
Little son, in order to make ends meet, in order to survive, I have literally all the options in the world. Oh, I'm going to be a career woman and I'm going to be alone. And men's response to this is, better renew my passport, because you guys are the ones who are afraid to be alone. You guys are the ones who would rather fly to a foreign country and find a wife than be alone. How ironic is that?
I don't see how this is an own in any way, shape, or form. Like, yes, I mean, people don't want to be alone. I don't know why that's a bad thing. If you're someone who wants to get married, of course, you're going to want to find a partner. And I think it's very telling that this woman believes the only reason why a woman would want to be with a man is because she would be financially dependent on him. Because it's not as if women, just based on their own accord or preference, would want to seek out things like being a wife or motherhood. It's like, Missy, I don't know what else to say except for that attitude is specifically why passport bros exist. Because guess what? Feminine women they're still out there. And yeah, there are women, including some Western women. I don't want to make it seem like all Western women are bad, but there are, I think, relatively fewer of them in the West who will look at these men who are interested in providing for their families, who want to get married and who want to have kids. And they will see that as an asset, not as someone who just wants to control them. And you know what? Ultimately, if you're this disinterested in the men who are going overseas because you don't want the lifestyle that they're offering, why do you even care? Like, why is it so intriguing that a man who you supposedly aren't interested in is also not interested in you? That's what I don't understand.
And so many people or so many men in my comments are saying things like, good, have fun being single forever. Someone's going to own a lot of cats, da-da-da. And I'm like, you promise? You promise, Brett? I don't know who needs to tell you this, and it's not fair. It's certainly not fair, but I can have like 5 boyfriends who all serve a different purpose in my life, the same way you guys have had 5 different girlfriends who did the same thing for you, and freely do that. There are no consequences except for some anonymous profile on TikTok calling me some kind of slur.
There are no consequences. Pregnancy, STDs, pair bonding, emotional damage, psychological trauma, no consequences. They don't think long term. This is the issue. I mean a specific kind of woman. Man, it's really sad, huh? All right. We'll get an update in 10 years, 15 years on this one.
And guess what, guys? I think I'm ready to face those repercussions. I think I can get over that. I think it's going to be okay. So, send me a postcard from France. Best of luck.
See, this is what I'm talking about. This woman is proudly saying, I'm not interested in you men who want a family, and I can proudly have a lifestyle where I either have, no significant other or 4 or 5, and that's what I want. Is it that shocking that a traditionally minded man would not be interested in you? Like, you are why these passport bros exist. And once more, she's conflating the men who have 5 girlfriends at once that I'm guessing she hangs around with all men, including the passport bros. It's like, these are 2 very distinct type of man. It's like, sweetie, just because you happen to attract and interact with human garbage, that doesn't mean that that's representative of all men. And it's just, there's a huge amount of projection here. And in addition to the projection, frankly, for being real, I think a lot of the backlash that passport bros have gotten also comes from a place of jealousy.
Honestly, the amount of white dudes with Thai women that are waiting to board international flights, it's an absurdity. It is crazy. Like, half of the couples in this airport right now are beautiful Thai women with super basic white dudes.
She's mad. You can tell her she is being mad. She says that there are super basic white dudes, but at the same time, you can see that it's bothering her. It is absolutely bothering her. And it's because, I mean, if we're being just like real here. White women like her are hypergamous, which a lot of women are, and that's totally fine. But that means that there's no way she would be interested in dating the average Thai man who is from an economically developing country. I want to be clear here. Not everyone from a developing country is in poverty. Of course not. Thailand, a lot of these Asian and Eastern European countries, they have a growing middle class, and they even have people who are extremely wealthy. But it's like a white woman like that, she's probably not interested in the average Thai man. And so what a white man dating a Thai woman means is that there are less men out there who she would be interested in dating. And so she doesn't like that she now has competition on an international level, which is fine. And I mean, you don't need to like it. If you're single, you're in the dating market. Of course, you're not going to like more competition. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should be slandering the men who aren't interested in you anymore as human traffickers or people who are trying to financially exploit other women. And it's kind of interesting because going down the rabbit hole of like, oh, this is just about money. If an American woman were to meet a rich, or, you know, by relative standards, a rich foreigner who wanted to bring her somewhere exotic that she's never been, that would be literally a romance novel. There are romance novels. That's an entire genre of romance just dedicated to that situation.
Their Habibi in Dubai with that oil money. Yeah, it does happen. Except what's funny is that the Dubai bros, the Arabs, will use Western women for fun, then go and marry their own. I mean, the conversations I've had with Arab bros when I was in college and they were balling out of control, guys I've met with businesses that crossed over into mine as well. What they think of Western women can't even tell you on YouTube. Can't even say it out loud. It's crazy.
But when it comes to Asian, Eastern European, or like Latin American women who might be in that same position, all of a sudden now, oh, no, the difference in wealth, that's actually exploitation and it's wrong. And therefore you should just stay here so I could reject you. It's like, no, let these people live their lives. People in developing countries, it's not like they can't consent. It's not as if they are children or mentally feeble. Like they are able to consent to mutually beneficial relationships. And it's just like the cope that surrounds the feminist backlash to passport bros that's kind of laughable.
You pay attention to the passport bros, like they're getting women from like the DR, Colombia, the Philippines, Thailand, like women that can speak very little English, women that don't have education, women that need them. Women that need them.
Women are raised to be wives. They learn everything from birth, from their father, from their mother, how to be a wife and how to support your man.
Women that need them.
It's not even women that need them. It's women that treat them with respect.
So we don't.
Y'all know y'all don't.
Stop yourself.
That's not true. Why I love that clip is because the woman there, she tries to make it seem like if a woman needs a man, that's automatically exploitation, or that's not really a consensual relationship, it's coercive. In relationships that last, yes, you should need each other. A woman should need a man just like a man needs a woman, and I think women cannot stand the idea that men still want a woman to need them. And it's kind of funny, as you could kind of see there, because Asian women especially have begun weighing in on the issue of passport bros, and it turns out that they are not a fan of being portrayed as just these helpless, poor, uneducated victims. Go figure. It seems like these women who apparently have access to internet, good for them, guys. Yeah, it turns out they're perfectly capable of choosing a husband for themselves and like raising a happy family.
Do you know why? Because they're poor. Y'all are taking...
I am proud to say that I am a poor Filipino. But despite of being poor, I am academically excellent, competitive, talented, if I must add, and well-mannered. In my country, we have a subject that we call GMRC. That stands for Good Manners and Right Conduct. I didn't graduate from a prestigious school, but I can speak with class and my English is quite okay. If being poor means we can make our man feel respected, happy, and loved, then we wouldn't mind being poor. If it means being kind and nice to people, then it's okay. We poor people doesn't keep ourselves busy by putting on makeups, long fake nails, lashes and stuffs. We keep ourselves busy by cleaning the house, taking care of our partner, while working at the same time. If being poor means we are not rude, then that's okay. We are happy being poor. We are proud being poor.
American guys are going across the country to find Filipina slaves. Girl,
what did I do today?
You cooked dinner. You went to the grocery stores before and got all the groceries to cook dinner. And you cleaned up the room, whole room, and put all my clothes away without me asking for it.
And do I feel like I'm a slave? No. Because what did you do today?
What I do? I bought Starbucks. I took out the trash when I saw you struggling with it. You were going to try to take it out yourself. And, well, I got your nails done the other day.
So it's not a game of who does more for who. It's about thinking what the other person needs and doing it without them having to ask for it. And even if I do just the little things for him, he's always so surprised and appreciative. Which makes me wonder what's going on over there in America. And mind you, we're not taking them away from you. They're coming to find us.
Look, are there men out there who would travel overseas specifically because they want to essentially hold a woman hostage?
That ends the conversation. That's the most triggering statement they all make. We're not looking for your man. They're looking for us. And they have no rebuttal to that, ever.
Because she's financially dependent on him, and he plans on abusing her and controlling her, and he's preying on the fact that she is impoverished, and that's like his whole thing. Yeah, those type of men exist, and when they do exist, I condemn that. But to make it seem like that's any man who is interested in a
Also, when a man does that, usually the locals, her family, everybody will get together and get his ass. Like a dude that comes over to another country and is disrespecting their women like that. There's plenty of stories. I guarantee there's guys in the comments that'll tell you what happens when dudes go over there disrespecting women. So if anything, they're even more protected than they are here in the West. Isn't that funny? But in general, man, it's so messed up that the gender dynamics in the United States and the rest of the Western world has been turned upside down to the point where people are either outright exiting the game and rather be alone, or feel like they need to move to a traditionally minded country to start a family there because it's almost impossible in their home country. Isn't that something? And the permeating message in society anyway right now, the gynocracy in the West, is that I'm a woman, I'm strong and independent, I don't need no man, I am the table, I deserve it all. So when you're raising a generation of women to believe this kind of messaging, do you think it's a surprise whatsoever that men would rather not date them at all? I don't know. You tell me in the comments.